Raptors head coach Darko Rajakovic has recently spoken out on the development of Scottie Barnes and his master plan for getting the most out of the Toronto Raptors' young star. So we'll break that down, including an injury update for OG Anunoby, who did return last night, but had some interesting circumstances regarding his injury. So lots of stuff to break down, but before we dive into any of that, folks, been looking through the analytics, and we are very, very close to 30,000 subscribers, and looking at it, over half of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're enjoying the daily Toronto Raptors updates that we've been putting out on the channel for years now at this point, it would mean the world to me if you guys could hit that sub button, as we're getting really close to this big milestone for the channel. But let's dive into that Toronto Raptors news, as Darko Rajakovic had some interesting comments on his master plan for developing Scottie Barnes. As we all know, all Raptors fans that have been watching the team this season, Scottie Barnes has certainly taken the leap that a lot of Raptors fans have been hoping for, even last season. But this season, first things first, the jump shot looks a lot more smooth. He's a lot more confident in firing off, even from deep. There's a couple of moments, even in last night's game against the Detroit Pistons, where he's a foot or two behind the three-point line, and he's letting it fly without hesitation. But we all know Scottie Barnes has been an elite driver, an elite facilitator, with the ball in his hands a little bit more often this season. That's been a facet of his game that's been more unlocked. And one part of his game that has really excited me has been the defensive end, because Scottie Barnes has always had the intangibles, the athleticism, those long arms, to be an elite defender. And this season, he's taken to another level. It's not because of any insane leaps athletically or something along those lines. It's because game in, game out, possession in, possession out, he just looks a lot more engaged. Now, not only is he blocking more shots, getting more steals, all things along those lines, but just on-ball defensive-wise, just possession at the point of attack with whoever the heck you're guarding, Scottie Barnes has been elite, and his help side rotations have been awesome. Really, I say all this to say, Scottie Barnes all-around game has been blossoming. He's been taking steps forward, and Darko Rajakovic has taken notice of this. And when asked about how he can get the most out of Scottie Barnes, his development, his future, he had some very interesting comments, because Scottie Barnes is such a well-rounded player. His development is sort of going to be more interesting than your average young star. So basically, this is exactly what Darko Rajakovic had to say regarding the development of Scottie Barnes.
It is good, but at the same time, it's a problem because he has so many traits, so many things that he can do on a high level. I always say, if you're really good at one thing in NBA, you're gonna find your country. You're gonna survive in this league. If you think you're really good at four things, probably you're out of the league and playing in Europe. You cannot be extremely good at everything, and that's a problem that I'm having with Scottie, because he's good at multiple things. We gotta find those two or three things that he's gonna really take the jump to the next level and become an all-star player, which I believe he is. We're still figuring it out, but as you can see, he is such a good driver to the rim. He's really good connecting with his teammates. Sometimes playing him at a position where he can set the screen and roll opens up a lot of things for us. It's a still process in work. He's still 22 years old. I'm first year head coach. We're all learning.
So obviously Darko Rajakovic had a lot to say there regarding Scottie. I chopped it down a little bit as it's a pretty long quote, but basically Scottie Barnes, yes, if you're elite at one thing, you can stay in the NBA. He went on to also say, if you're elite at two things, you're a starter. If you're elite at three things, you can be an all-star in this league. But if it's four things you think you're really good at, you're probably going over to Europe and playing somewhere along those lines. And this might seem counterintuitive. This might seem weird for a head coach to say, hey, why are you we don't want well-rounded players. We want guys with only these three elite skill sets. But I kind of like where Darko Rajakovic is coming from with these comments regarding Scottie Barnes. Because with a guy, when you're a jack of all trades, master of none in the NBA, right? It's tough to find your niche. It's at the level of competition in the NBA. It's tough to really find your role, find what you're really good at if you're focusing on everything else. And that doesn't mean not become a well-rounded player or anything along those lines. But for the best Scottie Barnes to emerge, the best outcome of Scottie, he's got to lock in on a few specific things that really will maximize his potential, maximize his impact to winning games for the Toronto Raptors. And I like that that's the approach Darko Rajakovic is taking with Scottie Barnes, to maximize the oozing potential that we know Scottie Barnes has had, even from day one of entering the NBA. So, Darko, I kind of like this approach. He didn't specify, the specific things. He mentioned how, the three-point shooting is improving, his ability to drive and kick and facilitate for other players. I mean, if you look at Scottie Barnes' best skills sort of coming into the league, the most, clear, obvious avenues for Scottie Barnes to grow, slashing is definitely one of them. Creation on those drives are definitely there, and the defensive end are certainly a possibility. I think a part of this too is also an indication like, hey, Scottie Barnes, we know he's developing as a jump shooter. We want him to develop as a jump shooter the same way guys like Giannis have improved their three-point shot. Guys like Embiid, guys like Nikola Jokic can all space the floor. They need to be capable of those things. But, Scottie Barnes, his maximum development is never going to be someone that plays like Klay Thompson or someone that comes out and is hoisting up a bunch of threes, right? We want Scottie Barnes to play to his strengths, lean into those, and not be limited in other facets of his game, but really just unlock and lock in on the sort of things that will really make him a superstar in the NBA. So that approach from Darko Rajakovic, I definitely agree with, and I'm excited to see the development of Scottie Barnes going forward. Even the development he's already had at this point in his Toronto Raptors career. But do you like this approach from Darko Rajakovic? Let me know in the comment section down below. But the next thing we're taking a look at is an injury update regarding OG Anunoby. And obviously, OG Anunoby missed the last few games with a hand laceration, it was reported. But we didn't get any specific details regarding how it really happened or things that are going on there. But we did get a little bit of insight in terms of what's going on with this OG hand injury, or at least what happened with it. A little quote he had the other day, basically coming out and saying that the people want to know the OG's laceration, things like that. OG isn't telling anyone how he cut his finger, but he said he was gushing blood and it took 5 stitches. And he said that he felt it grabbing the rim and on some catches, but he's getting better every day. So this is a good sign for OG Anunoby, as obviously he came back against the Detroit Pistons last night. Didn't have the most tremendous game. Part of that's probably a little bit of, being out of a rhythm, not being with the team for, or at least not playing in the games for the last few outings. But obviously, when you have stuff on your hand, especially something that's as irritating as a hand laceration, OG Anunoby isn't one of those sort of post-up guys, necessarily fishing everything around the rim. He's a shooter as well. He can kind of do different spots, the things out there on the court. The fact that that hand is getting better is a huge positive. Apparently, it was gushing blood. Blood's going everywhere. So it seems like it was a serious laceration, which makes sense given the fact he missed that much time for sort of a thing that was just stitched up and cut. But hopefully, it doesn't affect his sort of game. I don't think it ever would long term. But, in the short term, we need OG Anunoby step up because we have some very big games, the Toronto Raptors, over the next couple weeks. A couple play-in tournament, or not play-in tournament, the in-season tournament, against the Orlando Magic as well as the Brooklyn Nets, play the Pacers, a lot of teams that are sort of at our level in the standings that we want to overtake. So having a healthy OG Anunoby will be huge for the Toronto Raptors. But folks, let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors news. How you feeling about Scottie Barnes' development, OG Anunoby's health, and just the direction of this Toronto Raptors team? Because we got a big win against the Pistons. They've had some tough losses prior to it. The Raptors are a very interesting spot right now. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the vid, hit that subscribe button, very close to 30,000 subs. Keep you up to date with everything regarding this team. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.